Good afternoon and many thanks for joining us on News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. I'm David Alabi and here are stories making the headlines. Now, a week after being on the news for shutting down the National Assembly, the Department of State Services has announced the appointment of Nnochirinye Afunanya as its spokesperson. The appointment was announced a few hours ago in Abuja. Acting Director General of the agency, Matthew Seifa, had promised to appoint a spokesperson for the agency. Mr. Afunanya obtained a master's degree in English from the University of Uyo in 2009 and another master's degree in Peace and Strategic Studies in 2011 from the University of Ilorin. The new spokesperson has attended several courses, including Innovation and Strategy at Harvard University, Boston, Security Management and Coordination, London, and Investigative Journalism at City University, London. And moving on to some legal matters, an FCT High Court has restrained President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, from declaring the seat of former Minority Leader of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, vacant. Justice Uthman Musa was on Wednesday also ordered the President of the Senate not to impede Senator Akpabio's access to the Senate building or taking any action aimed at overreaching his privileges and rights as a senator pending the determination of the originating summons of the applicant. Justice Musa ordered service of the court papers through the clerk of the National Assembly or the Senate. The suit has been adjourned to the 29th of August for hearing. The National Assembly members of the People's Democratic Party are keeping vigil at the premises of the Assembly complex to forestall any impeachment process against the Senate President Bukola Saraki. This was disclosed on Wednesday in Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital, by the senator representing Nasarawa North Senatorial Zone, Philip Gunka, when he presented his letter of intent to contest the governorship seat of the state to the officials of the state PDP. In his response, the state PDP chairman, Francis Orogo, said the state chapter of the party was proud of its representatives at the National Assembly and consequently encouraged them to maintain the tempo of their loyalty to the party. Governor Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State has affirmed that it is true that President Muhammadu Buhari has health challenges and also accused the cabal of running his government. Mr. Tambuwal also declared that he had been under tremendous pressure to join the 2019 presidential race. Addressing thousands of youths and students who stormed the governor's office in appreciation of his involvement of youth in his administration, Mr. Tambuwal said, "We supported Muhammadu Buhari in 2015 and to become president unconditionally, and we admit that Buhari has integrity, but that's not the only requirement for leadership. We are aware that the president is affected by serious challenges of health and is being held captive by a cabal that runs Nigeria for their personal interests." End of quote. A U.S. government global hunger and food security initiative, the Feed the Future, has earmarked $12.5 million for food security in Nigeria. Head of the International Food Policy Research Institute Nigeria office, Dr. George Mavrotas, said this in an interview with News Agency of Nigeria on Thursday in Abuja. He said the initiative has three main objectives, which includes strengthening of the national capacity for greater evidence-based policy process in agriculture, promote and foster informed policy dialogue among stakeholders and government, and support government's efforts to plan and implement effective research and policy analysis. Mr. Mavrotas, who is also the chief of the project, the Feed the Future Nigeria Agricultural Policy Project, said that the fund, which has been released since 2016, would cover various agricultural and food security programs in the country for the next 5 years. The initiative, according to him, was a joint effort between the Michigan State University and the Nigeria Strategy Support Program funded by USAID Nigeria. It's now time to move over to the story concerning Mr. Ogundipe, who has been in detention for over 2 days following his arrest by police personnel over an article he authored and was published by the Premium Times newspaper disclosing findings of an investigation carried out by the police on the siege of the National Assembly in Abuja by masked operatives of the Department of State Services. The Nigerian Union of Journalists and several lawyers have condemned his arrest. Plus TV News is following up on the story and will definitely bring you more details as the events unfold. Away from that development now, troops of 1 Division Nigerian Army have killed 5 suspected bandits in a gun battle along Funtua-Birin-Gwari Road, the Army Public Relations Office has said. The Deputy Director, Army Public Relations, 1 Division of the Nigerian Army, Kaduna, Colonel Muhammad Dole, disclosed this in a statement issued in Gusau on Thursday. Colonel Dole, who was part of Operation Sharadanjaji in Zamfara, being coordinated by the Defense Headquarters, said the troops under Operation Well Punch responded to a distress call of an armed robbery along Birin-Gwari-Funtua Road on 14th of August. While on hunt for the armed robbers, they are ambushed by suspected bandits. They, however, fought their way and overpowered the bandits, who hastily withdrew into Kuyumbana Forest in Zamfara State. During the pursuit, dead bodies of 5 bandits were found. Among the dead bandits was a notorious criminal. Colonel Dole added that after a thorough search of the operation area, weapons including 1 AK-47 rifle, 3 magazines and 87 rounds of 7.6mm special were recovered. It's time to take a quick break. Stay tuned for more news when we return. Don't go anywhere. If you're just joining us, you're watching news on the hour at Plus TV Africa. Now, Mali's President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita has won a re-election bid, and Sunday's heavily disputed runoff election results show. Official results from the Ministry of Territorial Administration shows Mr. Keita won with 67.17% of the vote. Opposition candidate Sumali Sis, who got 32.83% of the vote, has said on Monday that he would reject the result as he believed the vote was marred by fraud. The victory gives Keita a second term in the mostly desert West African country, where militant violence and claims of fraud by the opposition marred the poll. And away from that, Zimbabwe's ruling party and opposition says the Constitutional Court will hear the opposition's challenge to the presidential election results on the 22nd of August. Opposition leader Nelson Chamisa narrowly lost to President Emmerson Mnangagwa, but Mr. Chamisa's party alleges gross mathematical errors. It seeks a fresh election or a declaration of Chamisa as the winner of the 30th of July vote. Mr. Mnangagwa's lawyers said, and the Electoral Commission have filed papers saying the case should be thrown out, claiming that the opposition filed its challenge too late. The court has 14 days from Friday's filing to rule. The inauguration is on hold until then. The peaceful vote raised hopes that Zimbabwe face a new era after the November departure of longtime leader Robert Mugabe, but scenes of the military dispersing opposition protesters have caused a chill. Meanwhile, President Emmerson Mnangagwa says Zimbabwe is ready to move forward with its economic revival agenda despite the imposition of new sanctions on Harare by the United States government last week. U.S. President Donald Trump signed into law the Zimbabwe Democracy and Economic Recovery Amendment Act, effectively extending U.S. sanctions against Zimbabwe. The new law, which amends the Zidare legislation of 2001, is a dent on Zimbabwe's re-engagement efforts with the U.S. However, President Mnangagwa said here on Wednesday he was not losing sleep over the latest stance by the U.S. Should I concern myself with what is happening in Washington? He replied dismissively when asked for his reaction to the latest U.S. sanctions. He was speaking to the media at the end of a courtesy call, on him by U.S. Ambassador to Zimbabwe, Brian Nichols, at State House, Harare. The 16th of August 2012 killing of 34 protesting mine workers by the police in Marikana that stunned the world is remembered across South Africa today, with calls for urgent action against those involved. A total of 44 people were killed following days of violence during a protracted wage strike by workers of the Lonmin Platinum mine in the northwest. Civil rights organizations Right to Know is among those calling for urgent action to be taken against those who had a hand in the Marikana massacre, saying that no one has been held accountable 6 years on. Meanwhile, the African National Congress ANC party has issued a statement saying they remained committed to ensuring that such tragedy does not happen again in the country. It's time to take another break. When we come back, we'll bring you stories from the foreign scene. And on the foreign scene, the death toll from the fresh onslaught of rain in Kerala since 9th of August has climbed to 75 as the state is reeling under one of the worst floods in history. Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayana had once again called on Prime Minister Modi on Thursday to seek more aid considering the situation. He also sought for additional army personnel and helicopters. For the first time in history, the state has opened 35 of its 39 dams. Meanwhile, operations at the Cochin International Airport have been suspended till the 26th of August due to flooding in and around the airport. A red alert has been issued in all of the 14 districts of the state. We now move over to Italy, which is set to receive around €2.5 billion for infrastructure improvements, which would include the Genoa region. European Commission spokesman Christian Spar said this on Wednesday, even as Genoa's chief prosecutor Francesco Cozzi says 10 to 20 people were still missing. On Wednesday, Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte declared a state of emergency covering the region around Genoa after a bridge collapsed and killed 39 people and severed the port city's mainland corridor with southern France. Italy's biggest toll road operator has come under heavy stock market attack, and the government said it could impose a heavy fine or revoke its concession over the bridge collapse. China will hold fresh rounds of trade talks with the United States in Washington later this month, Beijing said on Thursday, offering a glimmer of hopeful progress in resolving a conflict that has set world financial markets on edge. A Chinese delegation led by Vice Minister of Commerce Wang Shouwen will meet U.S. representatives led by Undersecretary of Treasury for International Affairs David Malpass, the Ministry of Commerce said in a statement on its website. While the engagement was seen by analysts and business officials as positive, they cautioned that the talks were unlikely to lead to the breakthrough, given that they are among lower-level officials and led on the U.S. side by the Treasury Department, not the U.S. Trade Representative. A French man who was running late for his flight from London to Los Angeles tried to delay it by calling police to say there was a bomb on board. Liberian John Mir Abdelak, who lives in East London, made the call 8 minutes before 5:47 a.m. Norwegian air flight from Gatwick Airport, which was due to leave on May 11 because he was significantly late and airline staff had refused to allow him on board, a court heard. His hoax meant passengers had to be rescreened and takeoff was delayed by 90 minutes. An investigation by Gatwick revealed that the hoax call had been made using the same number linked to his booking. When Abdelak returned to the airport to take another flight to the United States on the 22nd of May, he was arrested. Away from all of those stories, now it's time to talk business with Edith Young. Stay tuned.
This is Business News and I'm Edidiong Iwang. While the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation says the drop in power generation could have been triggered by the continuous rejection of load by the distribution companies due to frequency management. A statement signed by the Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Mr. Ndu Hamadu, says power generation dropped by 712 megawatts on the 13th of August compared to the previous day's generation. He also added that the output from all the hydropower plants and some gas-fired stations, including Egbin in Lagos, suffered decline. The Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA, has announced the successful accreditation of NECA Global Certification Limited, NGLC, an indigenous global certification body to enhance global competitiveness. Announcing the birth of NGLC at a briefing in Lagos, NECA Director General Designate Mr. Timothy Olawale said NGLC had been internationally accredited as the first indigenous certification body in Nigeria to provide certification and training services for companies locally and internationally. He says the certification was achieved in collaboration with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. While the Central Bank of Nigeria says it is not possible for any importer to bring in substandard products into the country under the currency swap agreement recently signed with the People's Bank of China. The Apex Bank says adequate measures had been put in place with all regulatory agencies to check abuse of the terms of contracts reached under the currency swap deal. The CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, said this in Abuja at a currency swap forum for importers in the North Central Zone, where he stressed that the deal does not cover the importation of substandard goods into the country. Well, that's it on business news, but still to come is our roundup on entertainment and sports. Don't go away.
And in entertainment, popular UK rapper Stormzy has revealed that he will be funding 2 scholarships for British black students to attend Cambridge University. He has promised that for 4 years he will be paying the students' tuition fees as well as maintenance grant for an undergraduate course. In an interview with the BBC Breakfast, Stormzy said community background should not be a factor when it comes to studying at the best institutions. The application deadline for this scholarship program is the 30th of August. And is available to students with an offer to study at Cambridge. South African local rapper Cassper Nyovest and Didi Simelane, his former stylist, have mended fences following a public spat over unpaid services. You will recall that the Destiny rapper was caught in a dispute with his former stylist Didi Simelane, who claimed that Nyovest owed him 60,000 rand for services rendered. This included the concept for the Fill Up NBST Stadium concert, along with the styling for the Tito Umboweni and Baby Girl music videos, as well as a family tree store shoot. Simelane then shared a screenshot of a WhatsApp conversation between him and the rapper to prove that he was owed money, while Nyovest claimed he was going through a financial rough patch. Even though the rapper also posted a picture of him flexing a 450,000 rand diamond-encrusted watch. American actress Melanie Griffith is preparing for a comeback in the theater. According to her, Broadway is kinder to older actresses. Theater is kinder on a 60-year-old face, she said in a recent interview. She also made it clear that she has finally come to terms with skin cancer issues after having it removed from her nose, saying it's a scary thing when you're an actress and you depend on your face for work. Griffith is set to star as Mrs. Robinson in the stage version of The Graduate at the Laguna Playhouse in California this year. That's it on entertainment. The very best in sports after this.
Hello and welcome to Sports Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko. In transfers, Wydad Casablanca FC of Morocco has completed the signing of Super Eagles B forward Gabriel Okechukwu on a 4-year deal, and he will reportedly earn $300,000 per annum at his new club. And the former Karpaty Liev FC of Ukraine star featured for Nigerian Professional Football League side Aqua United before his move to Morocco. He would then link up with compatriot Michael Babatunde, who joined the club from SC Qatar 2 months ago. And Gabriel Okechukwu was part of the silver medal winning Super Eagles B squad at this year's African Nations Championship in Morocco. He scored twice against Sudan and Angola during the tournament and has made a total of 4 appearances for the Super Eagles B. And Arsenal midfielder Maitland-Niles has suffered a fracture in his left leg and will be out for 6 to 8 weeks. And the 20-year-old was injured during the first half of the Gunners' 2-0 loss to Manchester City in their opening day clash at the Emirates Stadium. He joins Kyle Jenkinson, who has an ankle injury, Sead Kolasinac, who has a knee injury, and Laurent Koscielny, who has an Achilles tendon injury, on the sidelines ahead of Arsenal's trip to Chelsea on Saturday. And club legend David Seaman admitted he felt sorry for the young defender last Sunday, indicating he felt he had been left too exposed. And the Gunners confirmed that both Nacho Monreal and Danny Welbeck have returned to full fitness and must therefore be in consideration for the weekend's derby against Chelsea. And Real Madrid midfielder Toni Kroos says that former Germany teammate Mesut Ozil was talking nonsense in his retirement announcement last month. And Arsenal midfielder Mesut Ozil quit international football after Germany exited the World Cup in the group stages, citing racism and disrespect. And Kroos said Mesut Ozil is a deserved international and as a player, he deserved a better departure, but the way he resigned was not in order. And Ozil faced criticism after being photographed alongside Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan in May and was one of the players blamed for Germany's disappointing World Cup campaign in Russia. And that's it on Sport Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko. For more on sports, do go to our website, www.plustvafrica.com/sports. Do have a lovely day.
Many thanks, Udoka. And that's our news roundup of events at this hour. For more news updates and broadcasts, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please do remember to subscribe to our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more news making the headlines across Africa and the rest of the world. My name is David Alabi. Good afternoon.